Boom. So today's topic is going to be about introversion and how it expresses itself and how it's accepted in men versus women. So let's get right into it. My first talking point is going to be about introversion in men and women and how it's accepted and expressed in the workplace. So for men specifically, because I'm a man, so most of my point of view will be male centric, and I observe quite a bit. As an introvert, I'm always looking, I'm always listening, I'm always observing people. So a lot of my female oriented observations may be wrong, may be right. It's just how I observe introversion in women, and specifically my wife, as she's introverted. So I use a lot of her experiences and a lot of how she feels about her introversion and how it's expressed to quantify my points when it comes to women. Now, for men in the workplace, introversion is definitely more accepted than it's not, and it's definitely seen as more of a, not necessarily a boon, but it's seen as acceptable for men more so than women. For men, a lot of times an introvert will gravitate toward a job where it's not necessarily forward facing. So you might not see an introvert working at a job, like for instance, working in a clothing store. They're not going to be working in a job like customer service. They're not going to want to do any kind of job where they're constantly in front of somebody having to talk to them. That's a big fat no-no, especially when it comes to men and women too, honestly. But a lot of male-centric jobs are more introvert-friendly. So like IT is more introvert-friendly, definitely. Engineering, some jobs in mathematics, and a lot of the science careers are also definitely more introvert-friendly. And these jobs, as a man and you're an introvert, is not necessarily seen as bad as if you're a woman and an introvert. Because unfortunately, society sees women as being the more social gender. So an introvert woman in the workplace, unfortunately, might be seen as someone that's not necessarily moving like the other girls are. The other girls might be more talkative, maybe more expressive, maybe more community-based. Whereas an introvert woman, she's not gonna want to do all of that. Like, she's not gonna want to go to work and talk too much. It's the same as men. Like, introverts in general just don't like social interaction. They prefer to be alone a lot more than not, and they're comfortable in trying to be alone. Now, in a workplace setting, that comfortability is slightly taken away from you, especially when it comes to women, because of the fact that a lot of the times their jobs are jobs where they have to talk a lot or potentially be visually seen. And you already know how society views women in regards to beauty. So beauty standards also play a role in regards to how an introvert woman might be seen in the workplace. Introvert man, you work your IT job, you work your job where you don't want to talk to people that much. It's normal. Like, we kind of expect introverted men, especially, guys who might be more tailor-made for like video games or more not so typical man pursuits. They're accepted and more accepted in the workplace than women are. For women, it's like society just judges you excessively, especially on how they look and how they express themselves. So a quiet woman or an introverted woman that may not necessarily put all that much into their display because, we're not flashy. As introverts, we don't necessarily like bringing attention to ourselves. We don't like it, and we don't like too many people in our face, too many people in an event or in the environment. Introverts just are not comfortable in those kind of environments, men or women. But women definitely get the shorter end of the stick when it comes to employment. It's like we just expect women to just want to talk more and be more expressive and sometimes even be more bubbly in regards to whatever position they have. And then a lot of times too, women gravitate toward careers that unfortunately have a lot of people, like communication and interacting with people and sharing ideas and talking points and a lot of shit. A lot of jobs like to put women on the forefront when it comes to like speeches and talking, because a female image, no funny shit, a female image is definitely more agreeable and likable than a male image is. So a lot of jobs put women in forward-facing positions because of the fact that society just in general likes to see a woman. Like, a lot of times when you go to these different stores and the cashier is usually going to be a woman, it's just what it is. Because women are expected to be more warm and bubbly and inviting. So that's why I feel like in the workplace, women get the shorter end of the stick, because of the fact that there's a certain expectation coming from them, and introvert women might not necessarily fulfill that expectation. Introvert men is like, we kind of know that, we just gonna be by ourselves, try our very best to keep whatever communication we gotta keep as indirect as possible, and nobody not really judging us because we men. Women, they get judged harshly, OD harshly, and I feel like it's definitely unjustified. I've seen plenty of introvert women in my workplace, and I'm like, they do their job, they do it well, they do it as best as they can. They're overachieving, but because of the fact that they don't talk as much, especially because they're women, it's like they're not accepted in their like teams as much as an introvert man would be, because as men, I feel like we just stand on business. So if I'm introverted, I'm introverted. I told you that. And it's like, you take it or leave it. But for women, it's like, for some strange reason, sometimes people, society in general, feels like it could try them. It feel like, you could try them, and you could like pull her out of her introversion, or she shouldn't be like that, so let's try to get her to be something else. And it's like, you got to accept them how they come. And unfortunately, we live in a world that doesn't like to accept people as they are and tries to change people every single minute. So yeah, that's definitely introversion in the workplace for men and women. For men, more accepted, kind of understood, and a lot of times introvert men gravitate to these careers where the introversion isn't seen as bad. Women usually gravitate towards careers where the introversion is not seen as a boon, and thus they get unjustly judged for being an introvert in their position. Not saying that they can't be successful, but the road to success as an introverted woman is definitely a lot harder than it is for men, and I'm really sorry about that. It's just this is how the world works, and it's like, that's why channels like mine exist, to try to explain to people and maybe even change this status quo. So that was my first point: introvert men and women in the workplace and how it's accepted and how it's shown. Next, I want to talk about introversion in men and women and how it expresses itself in relationships. Now, for introvert men, a lot of the times, like I said before in my last video, society sees introvert men as not necessarily being as charismatic, not capable of being leaders, or we're not capable of being exemplary leaders. And, it's just not seen as an attractive trait. So a lot of times, introvert men will struggle when it comes to relationships. As an introvert, we're not going out there. We're not trying to be on the scene. Like, we're not trying to be the center of attention. We're not necessarily putting ourselves out there in a way that may necessarily allow us to be visible. And because of that, a lot of times our love life can suffer because of that. Introverts are not going to parties. We're not going somewhere where there's a lot of people. So a lot of the networking and a lot of the macking that would usually happen between a man and a woman, introverts don't put themselves in that place to have it happen to them. And as men, considering men are considered to be the pursuers in romantic relationships, a man that don't pursue is like, how you finna eat? How you finna find your mate and make something out of that? So a lot of times with introverts, it's the fact that, you're so withdrawn that love may not come as easy as it would for an extrovert man who go out there and put out his character and show his charisma and show off the confidence. For introvert man, it's definitely going to be an uphill battle. It all depends on how much social interaction and how much your battery can take. Because there are some introvert men that can go out for maybe even a few hours, put on their best fit, and bad girls, and be successful. But a lot of times it doesn't work like that. There's a lot of introverts that are crying about, not being able to find relationships, especially when it comes to men. Not being able to find relationships, or feeling like the world isn't made for them. So it's like, why even bother? A lot of times introvert men will close themselves off to love because of the fact that they feel like there's nobody in the world that necessarily shares the viewpoint of introversion like they do. And that's that's not true. But two, I don't want to gaslight people and say that it's not like that in a lot of places, and it's not like that in the real world. There definitely is a big, huge difficulty in regards to finding love for introvert men. But it exists. Like, I'm living proof for that. I've been with my wife for 14 years now? 15? Oh, I'm losing track. Like, I met her in high school, and we've been together ever since. It's 2024, been together since 2010. Now, I won't lie and say I didn't get lucky, but also I put myself out there the best way I could as an introvert. Like, I saw her and I thought she was beautiful, and I thought she was quiet like me, and I thought maybe she might be introverted like me. So I shot my shot. I slid her a little note at the lunch table, and my heart was beating on my chest, hoping and praying to God that, we were kindred spirits, and we were, and I got lucky like that. And a lot of times, introvert men definitely need to find women that are on a similar wavelength. A woman that might stick to herself, might be quiet, may not have as much friends, that might be the woman you gravitate to, because y'all both similar, and y'all could potentially both be each other's best friend, and boom, call it a day. Too long didn't read. It's an uphill battle, but the battle can be fought and it can be won. Introvert women, on the other hand, now, I feel like when it comes to romantic relationships, they have it easier. And I know some people might say, well, you're not a woman and you don't understand what the women have to go through, yada, yada, yada. At the end of the day, men are the pursuers. Women are supposed to then choose the best pursuer to then make as their mate, for the best mate, right? So a lot of times, an introvert woman, men are gonna come up to you. Men are gonna come up to you and try to bag you and try to be with you. And it's like, you take it or leave it. Now, as an introvert woman, they might not necessarily know how to take that attention, and they might inadvertently just push the man away because of the fact that, unlike regular women, introvert women may not be as expressive with their emotions. Let me say that again. Introvert women may not be as expressive with their emotions. So a lot of times, you may not even know how she feel or how she's thinking about you, because of the fact that she's not expressing shit. Like, she don't talk much. She's a woman of few words. She wants to be by herself quite a bit. And that might put a lot of men off, because of the fact that a lot of men, our love languages are physical touch, quality time, and words of affirmation. So as an introvert woman, the words of affirmation might not come, or they might come few and far between. Spending time, unfortunately, introverts need a lot of alone time, and that alone time might put a lot of people off. And the physical touch, if you're not spending time together and we can't spend time as much as we like, as a man might start to feel some type of way about that. So while introvert women have it easier to potentially find mates, because mates come to them usually, to keep the mate might be a little bit difficult, because now I have my boyfriend, or I have my partner, and my partner feels some type of way because, as a woman introvert, I'm not expressive. So it's like, how do I even know she really feels about me the way I think she feels about me? So for introvert women, they have to make some type of compromise in regards to their introversion, and also being a good partner for their spouse or their partner or whatever. Because at the end of the day, relationships are built on communication. And as an introvert, we may not necessarily like to communicate too much, but to keep any relationship going, you have to. And this goes for men too. Introvert men are, the same as women. We're not as expressive and we're not as show-offy in regards to how we feel. But in a relationship concept, men are not necessarily expected to be so expressive. They're expected to perform. They're expected to do. They're expected to provide. So a lot of the time, we quantify what men bring to the table in regards to what they tangibly bring. Do they bring money? Do they bring, that man spirit and, what men can do, like throwing out the garbage and doing man shit? Do they make the woman feel like a woman? That's what society is looking at in regards to men. In regards to women, a lot of the time, and this is so stereotypical, but it is what it is, society expects a woman to be submissive and to, be a homemaker or be the more emotional and caring person. So because of those standards that society is putting on men and women, introverts in general just have a harder time in relationships. Introvert women have an easier time finding them, but men have a hard time keeping them. Introvert men have a hard time finding women and keeping them for the same exact reasons I listed as for introvert women. Introvert men aren't as expressive. They may not want to spend as much time with the person. And because of that, a lot of women get put off, because it's like, bro, if you're not trying to show me that you the man for me, then I'm a dip. Like, it is what it is. Like, you have to find some type of middle ground in regards to how you express yourself, and also how you are receptive in regards to someone else expressing their needs and wants to be around you or spend time with you. Introverts just gotta find that middle ground in regards to spending time with their special person and also respecting their own boundaries. So again, women have it easier to find the spouse, introvert women, whereas keeping this spouse might be an uphill battle due to the introversion. Introvert men, because we're introverted, we may not necessarily go out and pursue. It can be possible to find someone, and then we have to also have compromise in regards to how we view our introversion, and also how much we care about the other person and want them to feel special and feel like they're appreciated in the relationship. My next talking point is going to be introversion in men and women and how it expresses itself on a personal level. Now, for introvert men, a lot of the times we will look at pursuits that are things that can be done solitary, and they're usually, for the most part, male-centric. So a lot of introvert men will probably skew towards making music, playing video games, watching sports, because, you know, it's a universal man thing, and just in general pursuits that respect the introversion, but also allow the man to, you know, relax or just be themselves without having to put too much of themselves out there in a social concept. Especially when it comes to musicians, a lot of times they'll put all their heart and soul into their music, into their lyrics. That's how a lot of introvert men will express themselves, in music, in poetry, or something that can showcase who they are without them actually having to talk and say about it. Like I said, introverts can still do everything that everybody could do. It's just that we need that alone time to recharge, and it's a necessity. But yeah, a lot of times introvert men will go into pursuits that are masculine, but also respect the introversion. A lot of times introvert women, they go through pursuits that are definitely more self-reflective and emotionally driven. So introvert women, a lot of times they'll go towards creative pursuits. Like, for example, they'll do graphic design. They'll go into pursuits that, again, showcase who they are as an introvert, but are maybe just a little bit more emotionally inclined and emotionally expressive. Because at the end of the day, women are the more expressive emotionally gender. So even introvert women are definitely more emotionally expressive than introvert men. Even if we both don't do it as much, or don't do it as, you know, expressive as an extrovert would, introvert women are still more expressive than introvert men. That's what it is. So women go through pursuits that are more emotionally self-inclusive. Like, they'll also maybe take on pursuits like more inclined to like spirituality. So a lot of times introvert women might be into tarot, they might be into witchcraft, or they might be into some type of spiritual pursuit, and they might go down the rabbit hole in regards to that, because it allows them to be in tune with who they are inside, in their spirituality, and sometimes even in their feminine. Introvert men, and men in general, don't necessarily skew towards spirituality, because more so our pursuits are more either masculine, or they are somehow, some way trying to improve on who we are as a person. A man who's going into music potentially wants to be more emotionally expressive, but as introverts, especially men, we don't want to talk much. So instead of talking, I could put it in a poem, I could put it in a rap, you know, I could put it in something that's gonna express who I am without me having to be too out there in the first place. And women are the same. It's just that their pursuits might not necessarily skew towards self-improvement, but more so towards self-inflection. Basically, I would say, unfortunately, society has a big, huge impact in regards to how men and women are seen in their introversion. And I just feel like a lot of the nuances are slightly sexist and stereotypical in regards to how we see men and women, especially when it comes to introverted men and women. And I just hope that one day society moves in a direction where we're not so judgy, and we ain't trying to change people and make people who they not, and we just accept people for how they come towards us. If they're not being violent, if they ain't being disrespectful, if they're not being completely, like, you know, antisocial, basically, then I feel like let them rock. Let them express who they are and accept them for who they are, so that we can have a world that's a lot more together, so that our growth as humans continue in a way where we, you know, just further evolve. Like I said that before in one of my other videos, but I feel like as a society, we need to be more inclusive. We need to be more understanding of different people, and the fact that how, you know, what you go for, I might not go for. What you do, I might not do. How you feel, I might not feel. How you act, I might not act. But at the end of the day, we're individuals, so this is expected of us to be different, you feel me? So yeah, I hope I was able to explain even a little bit in regards to just the nuances between how men and women and their introversion, how it's seen, how it's accepted, how it's expressed, and, you know, just the different factors of our life: work, relationships, and personal. And I just hope my introverts out there just understand that, once again, however you express yourself, as long as you're not beating people up, as long as you're not hurting nobody, as long as you're not berating people, as long as you're not creating a negative image of yourself and introversion in general, then you live your life. You live it how you finna live it. And then the people that will accept you, they will. The jobs that want you, they will. The people that want to be your friends, they will. If they don't, then whatever. Who cares? Like, life is too short to have people in your life that don't even want to be there. Feel me? So, all right, y'all. Take care. Peace.